I think we are good now. So thank you everybody for joining us this morning. As Tony mentioned, we actually have about 162 people on right now, so that is wonderful. So thank you all for joining us. And I know that everybody's probably home with their kids and got a lot going on, so thank you again just for making time for this. I wanted to start out by introducing myself. My name is Nikki. I'm the VP of Development at Palm Beach Tech. And this is the second course in our summer series. I will be dropping some links and stuff in the chat so that you guys can find the additional videos, recordings of past ones, anything you guys may need. And if you guys do have questions as I'm talking or as any of the speakers are talking, please feel free to drop questions in chat as well, and we'll make sure to read them out and get them out to the speakers. So a little bit about Palm Beach Tech. We are actually a tech nonprofit. We started in Palm Beach County just almost actually exactly 5 years ago. We have our anniversary event coming up this month on the 29th. And we just made an announcement to become a regional South Florida organization. So connecting much more of our local community here, which we're very excited about. And, you know, our whole goal and mission is to build South Florida into a tech hub. So we want to work with, you know, people like yourselves, you know, the people that are teaching our next generation of tech, a lot of the headquartered companies that are here, the colleges, universities, coding schools, making sure that we're connecting all the dots, all the people here and building our community while attracting other people as far as tech talent and businesses to our area. So I want to hand it off to Allie. She is our wonderful summer talent intern who actually was the lead on putting all of this summer series together. So I want her to tell you guys a little bit about what we're doing, and then she can go ahead and introduce the speakers.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Before we get started, I would love to give our partners the opportunity to just say their piece. So Tony with Palm Beach County School Districts, if you have anything to say.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I would like to say thank you for partnering with us and doing something that's really vital and really key to making distance learning and remote teaching possible. You know, we went through the last 9 weeks of the school year here, really tethered to the Google apps. Not a bad thing. We've been using Google Meet and Google Hangouts and Google Classrooms with our students. There's a chance we could go through an entire school year here, starting in a few weeks, doing this thing remotely. So today we really wanted to focus on introducing teachers to some other tools that they might be able to use in the classroom with their students, and what better you know, group of people to tap into than Palm Beach Tech, you know, execs from local tech industry, you know, people with the know-how to really show us what we can do with these tools. Now for our Palm Beach County teachers, you can get in-service points for doing this. If you have any questions about that, why don't you contact me afterwards via email and we can chat. I can get you set up with that. We were asked to only use Google Meet last school year with our students, but I think you're going to find out today Zoom has some amazing tools that you can use. Right now, we're not supposed to use that with students, but you are more than welcome to use Zoom with other adults and any of the vendors that you come in contact with live. You'll find a lot of them use Zoom. Microsoft Teams as well, an amazing set of tools, not just video conferencing. All of our Minecraft presentations are through Microsoft Teams, as well as anything that we do with Microsoft family. So I think you're going to get a lot out of today's event. You know, the Palm Beach Tech folks, thank you so much for partnering with us and helping us out with this today. Thanks, Allie.
Of course. Thank you, Tony. And I don't know if I see Lido or Lisa on this, but our other two partners are the Broward County School District and Paxton College. So shout out to them. Okay, so for this summer series, I just want to give you guys a little background. In 2018, Code Palm Beach was established as Palm Beach Tech's effort to introduce K-12 students to computer coding and technology. Our mission to build South Florida into a tech hub includes our next generation of techies. We create robotics education. The summer webinar series and their teachers. We not only want love of STEM by keeping them engaged through conferencing. Tips and Tricks was designed due to the quick shift to remote work in 2020, where video conferencing has become essential for teams to communicate on a day-to-day basis. In light of this current trend of video conferencing, experts in remote working will provide tips and tricks of Zoom, MS Teams, and Google Meets. I would like to introduce our speakers today. Pat Lamorte, an account executive of education for Zoom video communications. Barkha Herman, a senior cloud solutions architect at Microsoft, and her colleague Audrey Hammonds, Azure specialist, data and AI at Microsoft, will also join her today. George Whitaker, the director of information security and cloud architecture at PJ of America, who will be
Allie,
yes.
Can you hear me? We're getting a lot of comments in chat that you're breaking up a lot. I think maybe I should probably take over because I think it's just your connection.
Okay, that would be great. Sorry about that.
She's in the Keys today, so she's trying to do it even more remotely than normal. Okay.
Yes.
So I don't know. It seems like everybody was kind of not hearing what you were saying from the beginning. So I'm just going to kind of give a brief overview of kind of what we're doing here today. And then I'm actually just going to pass it to each of the speakers if you guys want to give a little intro on yourselves, and then we'll give you time to actually go into your presentation. So again, I apologize for anybody that did catch any of that this was repeated. Basically in 2018, Code Palm Beach was established as a Palm Beach tech effort to introduce K through 12 students to computer coding and technology. Our mission to build South Florida into a tech hub includes our next generation of techies, and we create a positive environment that promotes tech, coding, engineering, and robotics education. This summer series is geared towards current high school students, those that have recently graduated, and their teachers. We not only want to expose children to STEM at an early age, but help nurture and support the love of STEM by keeping them engaged through high school and into college. Our webinar today, Video Conferencing Tips and Tricks, was designed due to the quick shift to remote work in 2020, where video conferencing has become essential for teams to communicate on a day-to-day basis. In light of this current trend of video conferencing, experts in our remote working environment, such as our three speakers today, will provide tips, tricks of the trade with Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Google Meets. So I want to start by introducing Pat Lamorte. He's an account executive of education for Zoom video communications. We also have Barkha Herman, who is a senior cloud solutions architect at Microsoft. And we actually also have her colleague, Audrey Hammonds, on with us this morning. She's an Azure specialist for data and AI. She also works with Barkha at Microsoft. And then George Whitaker is our third speaker, the director of information security and cloud architecture at PGA. So I want to start by we're just going to actually go right in order. If we can have Pat present first for Zoom. And then, like I said, what we will do is if anybody has any questions as we're going, if you want to drop them in chat, and then we will open up Q&A in between each of them to make sure everybody's questions get answered and we can help the most as possible. So Pat, if you would like to take it away.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, thank you for joining us today, and thanks for the invite, Nikki. I'm glad to be here. A little about me real fast. I came to Zoom a year and a half ago. Prior to Zoom, I was the president of Father Lopez Catholic High School in Daytona Beach, Florida for 5 years, principal for 3 years, and I was a teacher and a tech ed integration specialist for 19 years in New Jersey. So I've been in your shoes, literally. Our last school, we brought from 3 million in the hole to even in a few years. So I'm glad to be at Zoom helping a broader spectrum of folks continue learning. So my background is pedagogy, curriculum, and tech integration. So Zoom, we went from the video conferencing platform to a noun, which is awesome. In the short 4 or 5 months, we've 30x'd our business and tightened up security so much that our CEO purchased a security company. So now Forbes is calling us the most secure platform on the planet, which is an awesome compliment. But I'm here to show you what Zoom does. And I'm going to go into that now. I'm going to share my screen with you. And please use that chat channel for any questions, because if I can't get to them live, Nikki can print off a transcript and I can answer them back in an email form to you guys. So first and foremost, I'm going to show you what Zoom is about in general and how it's used in education. Can you see my screen with the wheel on it? Yes, no? Great, thank you.
Yep, totally do.
This is Zoom itself. So right off the bat, we have free annotation and remote control, so you can be collaborative with your folks. When you buy a Zoom meeting, you get the meetings, the audio, and you get the chat functionality. And then your IT team gets this entire quadrant here, where they can integrate into Schoology, Canvas, Blackboard, all different LMSs. We can integrate into Microsoft Teams. We integrate into Google, to Outlook. So this comes free of charge. On top of that, as a brief overview, we offer video webinars, which are one-to-many. So think about your all-hands meetings. Think about your guidance meetings with whole grade levels. You don't want them to really talk back. You want them to listen and clap and then leave. So you have a webinar function from 100 people to 50,000. From there, we can bring your district's phone solution under Zoom to make a comprehensive communications platform under one piece of glass. And then we can complement your conference rooms with a Zoom room, which gives your conference room physical identity on the server. So you literally could have room 309 host a meeting, and anybody at the table can share wirelessly to the screen. All right, you have your conference connectors, which are your H323 SIP connectors. And then each room license comes with scheduling software and digital signage for the whole school. So anywhere you can point to a monitor, you can run a slideshow to. All right, so right here behind me, I have a monitor, and it does have a slideshow running as we speak. That slideshow could be in a cafeteria, student building, the whole 9 yards. What does that look like in education? This is what people are doing right now. Let me clear my annotation. Forget COVID, anytime. Morning announcements, guest speakers, classroom recording and transcriptions, an obvious one. Simulcast online courses, student-teacher conferences, virtual tutoring and office hours, remote mentorship with the community and partners, remote parent-teacher conferences, teacher observations, teacher work groups, training like this one, phone services, HR interviews, it's countless. I have schools right now that are blowing my mind with how they're using it that we didn't even think about. So it fits every day. What I like to say is that Zoom complements what you do. It doesn't get in the way. You can use it one of many ways. So if I switch my share screen over, and how much time do I have, Nikki?
You'll have about 10, 15 minutes for each of the speakers.
That's all I need. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Switch my share screen real fast to this one. So very quickly on our platform, can you see my Zoom screen now? Excellent. So up here are 3 important things. This dial tells you what meeting you're in, and you can share your link. This one tells you you're in an end-to-end encrypted meeting room. And this one tells you that we're recording. We never record incognito. We always are transparent. From here, your microphone and video, one important factor, they're pretty self-explanatory, right? You can mute, unmute, turn your picture on and off. You can change microphones and speakers midstream. But Zoom recognizes audio and video boards. So up here, you'll see I have turn original sound on. If I do that, Zoom stops monitoring your sound and lets the audio board come through with your own settings. So you use it for musicals, plays, instrumental music, choir, the whole 9 yards. Our backgrounds, you have, some of them have it on, some of them see it. I'm not in this office. I wish I was. I could be in San Francisco. I could be on the moon. Teachers are moving these to the lessons they're teaching. But also, one of my favorite features, it's a crowd favorite, under video, we have touch up my appearance. So under video, touch up my appearance will take out any wrinkles and blemishes like Snapchat does. You don't want to see me without that on, by the way. Next thing, security. Everything you need to secure your classroom and to have great classroom management is in one spot. From here, I can lock the meeting. I can turn the waiting room on, but I also can turn on or off all of these functions. So if I wanted to say, all right, guys, we're going to teach for 20 minutes and then we'll answer questions, and I turn these off, the only thing the kids can do is watch and listen. They can't share, chat, annotate, change their name, anything. So for classroom management and flow, it's very easy to toggle that right here. Participants panel, very quickly, all the participants in the room. If I wanted to make George a co-host, I go up here and make him a co-host. If I can't, because I'm not the main host, Nikki is. If George was a guest speaker, like let's say you bring in Judy Bloom to read to the kids, I want to spotlight her video so that Zoom doesn't move to the current sound, and I only see is Judy Bloom. In here, we have a function that has to be turned on the back end called nonverbal cues. What that does is it allows the participants to communicate with you by pressing a button. Go slower, go faster, thumbs up, thumbs down, clap. In the chat function, you see it here. You also have the ability, it's not turned on in this license, to share a file. So if you wanted to share a file from Google Doc, from your computer, you can share a file as well to one person or the whole group. So if I came into your meeting late and said, hey guys, I'm here, here's the updated agenda, I drop it into chat, it now is on your side, you download it, and we're on the same page. If we're collaborating on a training workflow for technology, we're collaborating with the annotation tool, I can save it as a picture, send it in chat, and you'll have a copy before we hang up. Here it is now. So I can actually share a file right from the chat function. Next thing, and reactions, clap, thumbs up, and we also have the ability to live stream any meeting or webinar to YouTube, Facebook, or any private streaming service. So an iPad on a tripod hooked to Wi-Fi, you can live stream football games, softball games, basketball games, graduation, robotics competitions. All you need is an iPad with Zoom to a Wi-Fi connection, and you're live streaming to your community. And lastly, on my card here is the share screen function. When I share a screen, I have many options. Can you see this, please? Yes or no? Great. I can share an entire desktop, or I have an integrated whiteboard, or I can share from an iPhone or iPad with or without a cable, or I can share a specific application that's open. Microsoft PowerPoint, Google Chrome, the whole 9 yards, right? So from there, I can share a movie. Now, let me tell you something about Zoom. Zoom, everybody connects separately to the meeting. So if I'm holding a meeting right now for 160 people, the only bandwidth I'm holding is my own, which is 1.2 megabytes up and down. Everybody joins separately. So Zoom sends out 3 video signals at one time to every single person, and will monitor your internet connection and phase your video up and down to protect your audio, like simultaneously. Because if you don't have audio, you don't have a meeting. So if I want to play a video, let's say this was a video, I hit share computer sound and optimize screen for video clip. Once I do that, if your monitor is playing it successfully, every single person is seeing it successfully. Zoom is built to work up down to a 3G network. Over here as well, very quickly, I have advanced features. I can share from a document camera or a second camera, computer sound only, or a portion of the screen. So if you can see me still, here's a document camera, it's a Wi-Fi camera. English teachers can have their papers down and grade them live for the kids. Science teachers can be doing their labs while the kids are filling out their reports, because we're not sending knives home. And then art teachers can put the camera up and draw on the paper on the wall to show students technique. So you can hook up any camera you want to Zoom. And lastly, a secondary place for you to share files, whatever you have set to. We actually sync with Dropbox, Box, Google Drive, OneDrive, any of those file server programs you can hook to your Zoom account. That, my friends, was a very quick overview. We do have a resource library of 150,000 tutorials, of which 300 are specifically for K-12. And also we have a comprehensive document I can send your way through a list, which is a guide for teaching with Zoom online, which talks about pedagogy and mindset as well. So anything we can do to help, any kind of meetings you want to set up, just let me know. We're here to help. We have a team behind you at all times. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Pat. And we do have a few questions in chat that I'm going to just kind of shout out if you could help me with these. But I did want to ask you also is when you get a chance, if you could drop any links to those helpful resources in chat, that would be great too. So the first question that we had was, does Zoom have subtitles working? Says I'm deaf, but I'm using the Otter AI app for speech to text. And a lot of people were asking that as well for ELS students.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple there. Let me stop sharing. You're seeing my screen with Zoom, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't have it turned on, but in the background, you can turn on closed captioning. So we have closed captioning. You can type yourself. You can assign someone to type, or you can bring in a third-party closed captioning service. You just click a button for a little piece of code, give it to them, and they close caption. So personally, I have 4 schools. I have the School for the Deaf and Blind in Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and also West Virginia. And they love it because not only that, when you share a screen like I am now, up top you have a green and red button that says you're viewing Pat Lamorte's screen. It looks similar to this, but I have more controls. Under more, you'll see something called side-by-side. If you go to side-by-side mode, between the shared screen and the people, you'll see a vertical bar. You can drag that bar left and right to increase the size or decrease the size. So a lot of folks love that because they can make the sign language interpreter larger or smaller.
Nice.
So we have that. Number 2, we also have free, for education accounts, free transcription of all your meetings. So your meetings are transcribed, archived, time and date stamped. When you play a video back, that transcript plays right next to it. So they have content and context at all times. I can cross-search that transcript, and it'll highlight the search bar. And when I click on an instance, let's say I'm talking about slope and intercept for math class, I can click on an instance, and it'll bring the video to that point as well, right? Then on top of that, October-ish, we're coming out with an update to that, which is live transcription. So now live, you can get transcription as the video is being recorded. We also have a brand new interpretation track. So if you have a community of folks that do not speak English as a primary language, you can turn on language interpretation, bring in someone that does speak Spanish or French or German or Mandarin, and set up that track so folks can join that track and get your meeting translated live. The United Nations helped us design that because they wanted to use us for their global conferences. So you can do up to 8 languages on a meeting.
That's awesome. Hopefully you were listening, Joe, and taking notes because I know we were just talking about that yesterday. Okay, I got a couple more questions here, and we just have a couple more minutes before we have to go to the next speaker. So I want to make sure I get these answered. So are you able to access the files from chat if you join late, or only files from the point that you joined forward? And then I guess second part to this question that came from somebody else is, they were saying in Google Meets that if a student logs out on accident and comes back, that they lose that chat. Is it the same in Zoom?
Okay, so in Zoom, the host holds all the transcripts. So the teacher in this case would have the chat transcript. So it's recorded from start to finish. So
Okay.
if they come out, jump in, chat isn't our primary place for meeting transcription, the transcription pieces. So when I download a file, if I bring that over very quickly, when I download a file from Zoom, let's just come over here. If I go to my recordings, okay, so my recordings are here. Let's say I wanted to share this as my English class. I can share it with any of these attributes. Expiration date, can download or not, on demand, so they register to see it, so I have the attendance list, and password protect, right? When I show you that video very quickly, it's gonna load in right here. And it's gonna load in with the transcript next to it. If I had transcript turned on, which I don't think I did for this one. Let me go back one notch. Yeah, 1 file, I apologize for that. Let me go to 3 files. So very quickly, I do want to show you this, but if I do this, over here it says more, and up here, you can download all 3 files, which is your transcript, your audio, and your video. Then you can put those links back into your LMS or to your Google Doc or Classroom page. But you can see here, the transcript is right here. And it's time and date stamp. So for board meetings, department meetings, you download this into a text editor, change the proper name spellings, your minutes are done. Okay. And then lastly here, as an admin of the account, you can cross-search every recording in the whole school. So if you're running PD sessions, we can do them asynchronously, come back, pull all the links, put them into a document as a video library. So I can.
Pat, we're getting some questions in chat. Is that it looks like the transcripts are for like post video, so it's basically saved afterwards, right? But there's nothing like in real like live time, right, where it's transcribed.
That's what I mentioned earlier. So right now it's post meeting, and in October it's live.
Okay, and then I do see a bunch of other questions coming through. I'll make sure to get these to you, Pat. So if you could help me, and then we'll send everybody something afterwards. But the last question I did want to put in here, because we were seeing a lot of that in chat, is there some sort of attendance function that's automatic? And if so, can you put the attendees like in order alphabetically?
Okay, so yes, and so if I go very quickly here to that page I was just on, where to go? Every meeting you have ability to run a meeting report. So when I go into dashboard, I'll show you here. If you are an admin or a PD instructor or a principal or a president or superintendent, you can go into any meeting in the school live at any time. So admin can use this as a drop-in observation tool. But if I go into a meeting, let's say I go in this meeting here, afterwards you can pull a report of time in and time out. So you'll have a full report of attendance for every single session you have. Now, let's say you're a teacher, you come to me and say, hey, something's going on. Every day we're virtual. Johnny logs out with internet problems. Something's fishy. I can go in here to past meetings, pull up your roster and your attendance, and see time in and time out. If it says 10:33, 10:34, 10:35, 10:30, yeah, the poor kid had a problem. But if there's no health issue here, and he's dropped out, Fortnite was a better option. And now you have a different conversation, right? But also here, as a teacher, you can pull this list, our attendance, but also we have live polling. When you poll a class, you can do up to 20 polls in a meeting and 10 questions in a poll. It's a great formative quiz grade or formative checkpoint. You can print out a poll report as well, which will tell you exactly who answered what. So you have the ability to do formative quiz grades and formative checkpoints in a meeting as a do now, bell ringer, whatever acronym you want to use. But yeah, you have attendance reports, but also I can run IP usage reports. I can run issue reports. If you're having a problem on a meeting, a tech person can jump into your meeting, not only see here time in and time out. If there's a health issue, they can see bitrate latency and jitter to see if it was an internet problem. And if there's an internet problem, they can click into that person and see when it happened on the call and export those details. So if I think I can help her, I can go right here, join as an assistant and help her. In this case, it wasn't that. I could say to her, Ashley, do me a favor, close half of your tabs on your internet browser. It's running really slow. Or if I see it's an audio problem and they're using a Plantronics, I can say, try reconnecting your Bluetooth. That might solve your problem, and voila, it solves it. And as a teacher or a host, lastly, you are able to see, like for instance, before when Alex was talking, I was able to see that her internet quality was very low. And I pinged Nikki to say, hey, she has a problem with her internet. But if you notice, her voice was still coming through. A la broken up sometimes, but that was Zoom freezing her picture so to protect her audio.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you so much, Pat. And I know that we still have a ton of questions in chat. So I know that one thing that came up is if you could drop the links for any of the tutorials, the specific ones that you were mentioning. And then of course, if you have any information that you want to make sure to get out to the audience today, I will be sending a follow-up email to everybody via our Eventbrite. So that goes for any of the speakers. If anybody has anything, a slide, some links, whatever you'd like, I'll make sure to get that to everybody. So just for the, thank you again, Pat. So just for the sake of, what were you going to say, Pat? Sorry.
If you're interested, you're up in Florida, so reach out to me directly. And I want to address one quick question, 10 seconds. The Chromebook limitations are enforced by Google, not us. So we are fighting every day to unlimit those. But a workaround is if you're on Chromebook and you download the Android app from the Play Store, it will work more functionality than if you use the browser.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
So we're going to move to, I think Barkha is next. She's going to be presenting on Microsoft Teams. So Barkha, if you want to introduce yourself, a little bit about what you do, and then please feel free to take it from there.
Hey everyone, so my name is Barkha Herman. I'm a cloud solution architect. I'm not a Teams expert per se because that's not my department, but I'm a Teams expert because I use it every day. I'm in it all day, every day. So especially since COVID, right? So Nikki invited us to join this group to talk about Teams, and I volunteered. I'm just gonna, instead of going through the slideshow, which is really, I'm just gonna do a demo. So let me share my screen. How do I do that? Share screen. And I'm going to use this screen to share, and let me know if you can see my screen. So can you see it?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, perfect. So I want to start with, there's a lot of comparable functionality between Zoom and Teams, so I won't repeat some of the things. I'll just show you the things that are there, and I'll also mention some things that are missing between Zoom and Teams. But I want to talk about what Teams is. So Teams is part of the Office 365 product suite. So it's not a standalone thing. It's something that comes with everything else built into it. And I think that it is an enterprise product. So not only does it have security built in, it's not an add-on. We didn't buy a company to add it. It also has a lot of compliance. You know, we have governments using it, so which require a lot more tighter security and compliance needs. So that's built in. So let me start talking about Teams first. So you'll see that this is what it looks like. On the left side, you have activity. So the activity literally shows you what's going on in your team world, right? Then you have the chat functionality. So this is essentially like a replacement for Slack, if you guys have ever used Slack. And then there's the teams, right? The concept of teams. So I'm going to illustrate using my Toastmaster club. Clearly, that's got nothing to do with my work teams. You can see that I belong to a lot of teams. So the concept here is that you can create a team, and I can just quickly create one here. I can either join or create a team, and you can either make it private or public. Let me create a private team. And the idea here is that you can create your classrooms as teams, and I'll tell you in a second why this is important. Because what happens is that once you set this up, then any meetings that you run are in this channel. So some of the questions that came up when I'm going to invite Audrey to my team. And then I'm going to close. I just have 2-member teams, right? So I just created a team. So you would create something like this for your like each classroom, right? So here's my team. Now within this, I can have new channels. So let me show you. You can manage team. And you can see that I created this team, and then also I have Audrey Hammonds is part of, who's on this call, by the way. And then also we can create some channels. So what would I use a channel for? So something like tests or questions or homework help or something like that, you can add a channel, right? So you can create a channel for something very specific. The reason why I bring this up is one of the cool things about creating a team is that you can have a meeting be in a team. So when you create a meeting within the team, even if you add people to the team after the meeting happened, they have access to that meeting, they have access to all the chats and files and stuff that was shared. So now you can, you have a student that joins a classroom late, you don't have to worry about keeping track of them or whatnot. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to show you how to create a meeting. So this is the calendar view, as you can see. So you can either go meet now, which is the ad hoc style meeting, or you can say new meeting, or you could just go to your calendar and say, I'm going to create a meeting here. So let's create a meeting. I'm going to call it Barkha's Best Meeting. And I'm going to invite Audrey to it. Audrey is my guinea pig. Clearly, date, time, all that stuff, totally normal. You can do repeats, so you can set up your entire school calendar. Here's where the fun begins, right? So this is the channel. So Barkha's Testy Team, I'm going to create this in the general channel. By doing this, everything that happens in this meeting, any chats, any files that are shared are automatically shared with everyone that's in that team, right? So we're going to type a description here, which is not very imaginative, and I'm going to say send. Now you'll see that it shows up in my calendar. Now, what's neat about this is also, I don't know if you guys are using Outlook or not. If I go to Outlook and did it finish posting that team? It's thinking. What'll happen is this same meeting will show up on my Outlook calendar as blocked. So here you can see it. Barkha's Best Meeting is now blocked on my Outlook calendar. So you don't have to download a calendar, set a reminder, whatever. No, it's automatic. And it works both ways. So if you create a meeting here, I'm going to create a back-to-back Barkha's Second Best. You'll notice that there's this button here that says make it a Teams meeting. So I can add it. And now it becomes a second meeting. I'm going to invite Audrey to it because, she's my favorite person. And I'm going to add it there. And so now you see it here, the second best meeting. But now if I go to Teams, it's also going to show up here. I'm going to just change screens here just for the heck of it. So Barkha's Best Meeting is saved, and if I give it a second, it'll show up here. Come on, there you go. So second best meeting. So that's one of the things. As far as meeting, I'm gonna just go ahead and see what happens when I meet now. Let me join. And yeah, one of the questions was, I think that the camera is being used by, I'm going to stop the video. And here I am. So I also have backgrounds. I'm really not sitting on the beach. So all that stuff is the same. So I'm not going to go into it. Here's the participant list. The chat is pretty much the same. You can do file sharing, you could put little GIFs and, all kinds of stuff. I like that one. And, you have the raise hand and it shows up on your list. There's an indicator saying, hey, somebody's raising a hand. And if I raise it down, all that stuff is pretty much the same. You can turn off the camera or mute and all kinds of stuff. This is the share button over here, but let's look at some of the other things. So turn on live caption. So I heard a question about that. So let's do that. And yeah, so as I talk, you can see that it says Barkha H is saying blah, blah, blah. If there was another speaker, it would bring up their name and say, Audrey is saying XYZ or whatever. So those closed captionings there. Let me also show you. So I'm going to stop the, of course you can record it. so you can start recording. And yes, when you do record, it says, it shows the little red button, and it also gives you a little thing saying, hey, you're recording this meeting, be sure to let everybody know that it's being recorded. And it also gives you a link to the privacy policy, right? So I'm gonna stop recording. And I'm going to leave this meeting. And I'm going to share some recordings that I already have from before. So let me go scroll up. So this is what the recorded stuff looks like. So now this is by default, Teams is only available for the enterprise. If you invite somebody outside of your enterprise, then you have to add them as guests, right? And they have limited permission. So this is a test meeting that I did. And as you can see, it has the transcripts, right? You can also have interactivity within the meeting. You can add a form to the meeting. So you can do that. Also, one of the other things that that you can do is when you create your teams, and I'm going to try and find my Barkha's testy team, if I can find it. I belong to a lot of teams, as you can tell. So I was talking about this concept of team, which is important, I think, as an educator. You have this whole area of files where you can actually add some files, right? So you can put all your syllabus, your homework, whatever, in here, and it's available at all times to the people in this team. So let me show you this one I just created, right? See, Audrey said, hey, Barkha, thanks for adding me to the team. Now, notice that even though I wasn't present, I have all access to all the team history chat because I'm part of this team. So let's look at some of the Toastmaster general files. And here are some of the files, right? So some agendas, some Toastmaster images, all kinds of folder structure. This whole thing is available to the entire team. So that's kind of neat. And then of course, I'm gonna go back to my Barkha's testy test team. Testy team. And you can integrate all kinds of other things. So it comes with a default with a wiki and a file. So I don't know if you guys know what a wiki is, but a wiki is an easy way to create pages and content. So typically what happens is that when we create a team, we actually create a wiki that says, these are the rules for the team. These are the processes. So the first, when you join, we usually invite people to go to the wiki to look up, how to do anything. So that's what the wiki would do. But let's look at what else is available. So you can add a tab to this and you can add all kinds of stuff. So you can add a list, you can add a website. So if you have a website internally or whatever, you can integrate it here. You can add a OneNote, you can have an Excel spreadsheet, you can create forms for people to fill out. You can do all kinds of stuff, PDF, Power BI, which is reporting tools, and then also a lot of third-party integrations, right? So some of these are third-party tools and new stuff being added all the time. And of course, the APIs and everything. Every organization that pretty much you get when you get a paid version, you can do development for, it doesn't matter what. So here's an example. Poly is, it's a poll taking thing. So you can add a poll. So we were talking about doing, quizzes during the, a meeting or a class session or something. So, yeah. So I can add a, let's see, sorry. I can add a poll here. So I can create a poll that says, And everything is integrated to your Active Directory. So for for non-technical people, that means that everything is integrated using your one login. So there's not a separate login for this, that, and everything. So you can create a poll or a survey. I'm going to create, let's say, a poll and multiple choice. What is up? And the choices could be the sky or airplanes. Now, this is a really silly poll, but all kinds of settings, whatnot. So you could take a look at that. So yeah, and you send it, and now suddenly this is available, and the poll was created. If I can scroll, you can even see it, and you can take a look at it, and you can do all kinds of stuff. And this is not the only one. This is a very basic one, but there's other tools and things you can add. Yeah, I mean, I can switch back to the meeting and just, like the plus points. But I want to emphasize that this is this is an enterprise solution. It is free for education, by the way. So you don't even need to buy it. More of an enterprise client integrates with your current whatever directory system for login, has built-in security, and also introduces this concept of real teams. Which is like I think the strength of the product. Audrey, do you want to add something?
No, this is great. I think that the key point here is that Teams is both great for live video chat meetings, one-to-many environments, but there's also the component that integrates into the Office 365 accounts that it looks like you guys already have at Palm Beach County. So it's both that sort of live interaction as well as the offline piece of file sharing and documentation and chat and things like that. The other piece is, and Barkha, I don't know if you have this, we didn't talk about this, but you can integrate Microsoft Whiteboard in as well, that you can do whiteboarding within the meeting. And in our roles at Microsoft, we use that pretty often.
Yeah. So I didn't really demo it, and if you guys want to see it real quick, we can jump on a call again.
Actually, say Barkha, just for sake of time, because we did get started a little bit late this morning.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing, but go ahead and I'll answer questions at this time.
Yeah, I think actually Audrey's been doing a good job of answering a lot of the questions in chat. I'm sure we've missed some. But just for the sake of time, does anybody have anything that is super important question that we did miss that wasn't in there that they just want to shout out? Because I do want to give George a chance to do his presentation too. And again, if Audrey or Barkha, if either of you have any links to tutorials or any information that you guys want to send, I'll make sure again to send out a follow-up email to everybody on here this morning as well. And thank you again, Audrey, for helping. But I want to pass it over to George. George is going to be going over Google Meet this morning. So George, if you want to go ahead and start your presentation, then of course I will. I'll be looking in chat to help with questions there. And I apologize again, just for anybody that does need to hop off at 11, because I knew it was supposed to be an hour, because we will be going over a little bit with time this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki.
So George.
Real quick intro of myself. I work for the PGA of America. I'm not employed by Google or Zoom or Microsoft. I have no incentive really to get you to use Google more or less. So I do know it's kind of the established tool. And with Chromebooks being handed out like candy at this point, it's probably something that is going to be pretty ubiquitous in the school system for a while. So I suspect you're probably pretty familiar with Google Meet at this point. simply because you've been using it for the last part of the year here. So I'm actually going to touch on some of the techniques while you're running your meets that are more than just, you know, being on a session with the kids here. So one of my favorite features of Meet, and the thing that helps me run my day, is meet.google.com. This is a good thing for you to bookmark if you're running multiple classes with your at the same time. You're not like with my kids who are in elementary school and they're working with one teacher all day long for the most part. So same thing for your students, right? If you highlight the things to them that they can bookmark and say, just pay attention to this, it makes it easy for them to get into a session that you want to meet with them on. Behind the scenes, there's also a lot of the same features that you saw from the Zoom demonstration, where you can see the quality, you can see who's got a bad connection, maybe somebody who the technology group needs to reach out to talk about their internet speed or Wi-Fi or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of auditabilities in here as well to see who's on meetings, who's doing a lot of talking, who's not doing any talking at all. So a lot of those same kind of concepts, but these are more advanced features and admin features at the end of the day. One of the main things that we've been finding more as our company, a 100-year-old company, went to remote as well at the same time as the school system, was you really got to keep things in front of people. So make sure you are sharing your video and try to share something else, anything else. It doesn't matter what it is. So in this case, this is a Google presentation here that I've turned on a feature that allows you to ask questions, students to ask questions by going to this link here, and you can have this kind of real-time feedback from a presentation and within the built-in Meet itself. The other feature that I think is really handy is something called a jamboard. I think you heard it mentioned a couple of the other demos, where this whiteboarding experience, you can see down here that one of my teams, we actually run this as this is our weekly team meeting, where you can create a template and you can create a template for our jam, and every day kind of start your class off with the same content. Say, you know what, every day we're going to do something like say hello to everybody, and the students can come in here and they can drop a note into the presentation. And it kind of gives them that connectivity back to the rest of the classes, right? A way to interact is they can all kind of drop things on there. They can draw, and of course, a kid's going to be a kid, and they're going to draw something inappropriate. It even happens in the corporate environments. But the main point is that people are starting to connect to each other, right? It's a way to close the gap that has been created by distance learning here. So Jamboards, a lot of fun. Hopefully they're enabled in your district accounts. Use them, play with them, and especially look at the templates. The templates are great for you to create structure out of every session and have that chalkboard, that whiteboard experience. Nikki, if there's any questions you want me to answer, just shout them out and I'll go at it, because I'm just kind of trying to keep up.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, so Jamboard's great. Make sure you look at the templates too. No matter what, keep something in front of the students, even if you're taking notes real time. So, and I run a lot of my meetings at work. Believe it or not, people are paid professionally to be in meetings all day long and talk about things. It's hard to keep even their attention. So I'll keep a document in front of people constantly, and I'll just start writing things. And that constantly pulls people back into the presentation, into the lesson, into whatever you're trying to talk about. So use a Google Doc, use a presentation, use a Jamboard, use whichever one you like. Just keep something in front of them as well. There is also
George, real quick, sorry, you do have some questions here about the Jamboard. You actually have quite a few. So they're asking about, can you get more colors on Jamboard to write with, is the first question.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
There you go.
Yep. There's also a physical device. My boss let me buy one at a PGA. He wasn't happy. It was expensive. It's really fun. You get to draw it with a physical whiteboard. The teachers, you're not going to get those at home, unfortunately. But this does also work on a tablet. So if you have a tablet or the kid has a tablet, you can have the Jamboard up here live and have the tablet over here and use your finger, your pen, or anything you want. So you can kind of bridge that physical gap there as well to like get that more natural, like writing on a blackboard type experience, right?
And then there's a other question about, says Jamboard is one of the titles in the waffle. Oh, because there's somebody who's asking how to get onto Jamboard. Okay.
Jamboard.google.com. If it's enabled in your G Suite in your account, this is where you're going to find it.
Okay. Another one said, so the kids have access to Jamboard as well?
That depends on your guys' security at the Palm Beach Schools District, but I think Tony could probably solve that for you and get at least some proof of concepts going if it's not already enabled.
Cool. And then I think you answered them. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I think that was it.
Right. Yeah, Jamboard's a lot of fun. It can add a great interactive element to your classes. Like I said, worst case scenario, open a Google Doc and start writing down your notes or have one prepared ahead of time. Remember, your students can actually interact in the same document with you. So they can ask a comment like, I don't know what this meant, right? And so encourage them to collaborate with you through the digital means. So that way you're constantly pulling them into you, right? There is a chat feature, much like what we saw from the Microsoft Teams and some of Zoom. I'll be honest with you, it's not my favorite feature of Google. Google has gone through a long series of chat systems. They keep building them and throwing them away and building them and throwing away. So there's a lot of great competitors out there. But if that experience was something you want to introduce in your classroom, it does exist here. You can have that kind of long, all day conversation. And I can't spell, as you can tell. Something like that. So for the older kids, this is probably something they're familiar with. Let's see here. And kind of last but not least, one of the important things I would say is keep your kids in very familiar and similar tools. So if you're going to schedule things, make sure it's on their calendar, right? Try to take advantage, not only for the kid, but for the parent to say like, well, where are you supposed to be right now? So feel free to use their calendar as much as possible. It's really important because that does tie into things like Zoom or Microsoft Teams and Google Meets. So that way the student or the parent can immediately click and get into the classroom and know where to be, right? You want to constantly keep it clear what they should be doing all through the process. So because I don't get paid by Google, I am not as well prepared as some of the other people, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, we do have a couple more here. It says, is Google Meet going to come out with any sort of like breakout rooms?
It's a great question. So we, you know, our corporate relationship with Google is interesting, and you know, occasionally we get to ask some questions and get some good answers back. I've not heard that one, but I also haven't asked about it in a while. A lot of the big features I know they were pushing to get out the door, they've released, like the grid view that you see now. That's very common. Closed captions, and I think in the education version, you all have some unique features that I don't have in my corporate accounts, like being able to forcefully mute the entire class, or I think there's a couple other unique features you had, but I've not heard about breakout sessions at this point. Really, at that point, you'd create another Google Meet and just run them in different tabs and jump back around.
A couple more questions here, and thank you for everybody sticking on because I know we're a few minutes over time. But another question was, how do you access templates for Jamboard? And then there was another similar question: is do you just make your own and save them?
Yeah, you do. You're basically it's. See if I can remember how to do it. It's been a while since I built one. You're basically going to just create one. So I got to make sure I don't create anything, show you anything confidential at the same time. Let's see here where our template is. Here it is. Core Tech meeting template. So here, it's essentially just a new jam that you store and you call it a template. And then you do almost like a file save as in a way, and you rename it from there. So here, this is one where in our jams or in our meetings, and you do points of pride. You call out your teammates. In this case, you call out the other students. They're doing a great job. Products we've shipped, right? So you use visual cues to kind of get them engaged and remember what that section's about. Things that, you know, we're seeing improvements, and maybe this is like, you know, kids are doing great, like the you know, gold stars on one side, and you're just constantly keeping that real interactive experience there. Notes, follow-up, things like that, announcements. So, you know, have fun, use a consistent format. I think you all know how important consistency is, and let the students interact with it. Yeah, so from here I can rename this. So this was my template, and we'll call this one, what's today's date, 7/16, 2020. And you can share this out with your students from there.
Perfect. So we're right at 11:06, so I'm just going to ask two more questions.
Sure.
Let's see. I've got one here about, has Google Classroom found a way for teachers to see the kids' view of the lesson? And then kind of part two of that question is, how do you keep them from staying in a meet once the creators left?
In a corporate, so I'll answer the last one first. In a corporate account, how do you keep them, or how do you get them out? Is that really the question?
How do you get them out? Like, how do you make
Okay.
sure the kids don't stay after like the teachers left?
I don't know that there's a feature for that yet. Specifically, you know, the one that, you know, the trade-off with Google and its ability to like just make things easy for you to get in and out of is that you don't have that type of restriction, unfortunately. And you know, unless there's an education feature I'm unaware of, I don't think that it exists. And I forgot what the other question was, Nikki.
I forgot what I just asked you. Hold on, what did I say? I think it was, oh, I lost the question now, sorry. I forgot what I even asked. I do have one more here though. Let's see. Oh, it was about the kids' view. Is there a view where you can see their side?
Like from the Google Classroom?
Mm-hmm.
It really doesn't look much different. That's probably the main thing you need to be aware of. It's not terribly different from yours. One of the ways that if Tony can help you solve this, so the way I would resolve that personally is I would create a dummy student, like a phantom or fake student in the classroom that I could log into on another another Chrome or browser, or whatever, and I would I would side by side it from there. Just, you know, say like, oh, I'm building my lesson or whatever the case may be, and then just
That's
let me
smart.
look at it. They're pretty close, and there really isn't much of a variance, but you know.
That's smart. Yeah, working your way around the system there. I like it.
Yeah.
Last question is there any sort of like closed captions again, like any transcription?
Yeah. Google's had the closed caption feature, I think, for a while. So I'm just going to create a quick little meet here. One thing, I guess, that one question, if you stay on the meet, you could see who's in it. So if you're worried about your students staying in a Google Meet session too long, you don't necessarily need to be in yourself. You can keep this window up and I think it refreshes every once in a while, and you would see their faces here. So that might be a little trick there. I'm going to mute this. So closed captions is down here. You should see it now. And I'm muted. So
yes.
Mute. Hello.
There you go.
This is George. Look at that.
Perfect.
And then the layouts was the other big features that they rolled out recently as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, George, for that. And again, I'm sure I've missed some questions in there, so I apologize. If George, if you know of any links or have any links to any tutorials or anything like that you could send me afterwards, again, I'll make sure to get that out to everybody. I'll also send to you separately, Tony, if you have a way of getting that out to everybody. But I did want to thank everybody that stayed on. Again, sorry that we ran over about 10 minutes late here. And sorry for the technical issues in the beginning, but I really do appreciate all of you for coming on and just kind of continuing to educate yourselves. You know, I know you guys are not going through an easy time right now, so we do really appreciate it. And hopefully we've been able to help you guys a little bit.
Nikki, I'd like
again,
to chime in
thank
if
you,
I
everybody.
can just for a second. Can I say just a couple words? 15 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Listen, folks, Palm Beach County people, Google Meet is something we do have a lot of resources and trainings for. And Google obviously is changing very rapidly. If any of you want to see more about Google Meet, Google Sites, anything Google G Suite related that you have questions about, please email me. I put a link in here in the chat room for EdTech's training site. They switched gears in April, and they've been doing nothing but trainings on everything Google that our district has access to. They have a YouTube site or a YouTube page with playlists of all their videos, and they've also got a website that's got everything Google related possible. And it's not just trainings. They have open forums where people can come and ask questions and show new things that they've seen. So if you've not been on that site and you'd like some information about it, just email me. I'll send you a link.
Thank you so much for that, Tony. So again, thank you, everybody. And I will send everybody a follow-up email, but I appreciate it. And everybody have a great day.
And thanks, George. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Barkha. We really appreciate it. Great stuff today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.